So it's finally here and out in the public, and we get to talk about the Gunslinger class from Heavy Arms. Now, I got to playtest this thing, or rather, I had a player playtest this at my tables. They were wanting the more, like, Wild West kind of a character out of their Gunslinger, and they were originally playing Mage Hand Presses. And while I think that one fits a good spot for a campaign setting agnostic kind of a Gunslinger, this one by Heavy Arms just feels like it gets across all the, Arthur Morgan kind of Red Dead Redemption gunslinger tropes that you're really wanting out of like a more Western influenced gunslinger. This gunslinger also feels like the ranged barbarian in a way rather than the kind of ranged monk, which to me was a huge selling point in getting across this idea of whenever you're in a firefight, you want to keep in the middle of that firefight. We're going to go through today, I'm going to kind of run down the base class and its features. The separate subclasses might be their own video, but as of right now, I've had a lot of requests to take a look at this one and talk you all sort of through the base class and its features, and kind of explain why I love this gunslinger so much more than probably some other options I've seen out there. So let's start this off. Who is Heavy Arms? If you know about the Complete Armorer's Handbook, then you're very familiar with Heavy's work. I know that he's contributed to a lot of other stuff since the Complete Armorer's Handbook, but I think this is his first big solo thing since releasing that. I'm not super sure. Let me know in the comments, Heavy, if I got that wrong. But he's got a whole bunch of other stuff planned that looks to be extremely exciting for the upcoming year. Heavy's also another creator that's moving away from publishing on the Dungeon Masters Guild, so we're seeing his first OGL class published over on his own website. So pretty exciting to see some creators out there actually making a name for themselves through their own means. So just as a disclaimer before we get super into this one, Heavy Arms is a sponsor of mine over on Patreon, but I was playtesting this before he became a Patreon sponsor. We've gotten to know each other pretty well just through being homebrew designers, so just know that before I get into this review, Heavy and I are pretty familiar with each other, and I was part of the playtesting. In an unofficial capacity, I did get to playtest this at my tables. So my first thing right out the bat, man, dude, Heavy, you killed it with the layout work on this one. I love this first page right here of the class. This just feels like if this is going to be your trade dress moving forward, dude, bravo. This is a great style to move forward with. And I also just really dig overall the look. Like, it just feels like you've got the aesthetic you were going for across. Just, yeah. Let's do some sexy layout appreciation.
You incorporated your logo into the artwork. Both columns for your class features are even and take up the entire page. You developed a consistent look throughout the entire product. You commissioned artists. Okay, and now I don't know how to get out of this bit, so we're just going to go back to the video. Let's move into the stuff that I know that you all are going to be really interested in, and that's going to be the base class and its features. So this is a gunslinger that's going to have a D8 hit die, which I feel makes a lot of sense. They're going to have these extremely deadly weapons, and they're going to want to stay probably in the, I'm going to say most likely the mid to back line. They're going to get proficiency with light armor, weapons, simple weapons, firearms, and whips. Tools are thieves' tools, tinker's tools, or one type of gaming set. Saving throws are going to be dexterity and charisma, and your skills you're going to choose 2 from animal handling, athletics, insight, intimidation, perception, sleight of hand, stealth, and survival. As far as equipment goes, you get leather armor and a simple weapon of your choice, a sidearm and 20 rounds, A, a hand cannon and 20 rounds, or B, a repeating rifle and 20 rounds, or C, a sawed-off shotgun and 20 shotgun shells. A Dungeoneer's pack, or B, an Explorer's pack, and then you can forgo the starting equipment to get 64 times 10 gold pieces to buy your equipment. Getting into this class and its features, number one, this first level feature right here feels so foundational and class identity defining to me to what a gunslinger should be that like I just can't imagine a gunslinger without something like this moving forward. Deadeye at first level. In combat, you find your flow with deadly efficiency. Whenever you hit a creature with a ranged weapon attack, the lowest number you must roll on a d20 to score a critical hit with subsequent ranged weapon attacks decreases by 1.
You can gain this benefit multiple times, but it can't reduce the threshold for scoring a critical hit below 16. You lose this benefit if you miss with an attack, you become incapacitated, or if your turn ends and you haven't attacked a hostile creature since your last turn. So the overall crit threshold is reduced, but you have to be able to keep hitting your attacks. It also functions like rage in a way right here, where you have to keep making these attacks. If you end your turn and you haven't attacked a hostile creature since your last turn, you're going to lose out on this crit threshold reduction. So, and then the rest of it at 14th level, whenever you land the hit, it reduces it by 2 rather than just 1, but it still can't reduce the threshold below a 16. Yeah, and this to me, this is exactly what I would want out of a gunslinger right here rolling out at first level. Bravo, this is such a cool foundational feature. And then here at first level, you also get bad medicine. You can roll 2 additional weapon damage die when determining the extra damage for a critical hit with a firearm. The number of additional weapon damage dice increases as you gain levels in this class, as shown in the bad medicine column of the gunslinger table. So the number of damage dice, it basically increases at the same level that your proficiency bonus is going to increase. This is making firearms feel so much more devastating, like the firearm that you would kind of expect them to be, without making them, or rather without giving them the kind of higher damage dice, like 2d8 or 2d10 or whatever. Right here, these are all starting out at really reasonable damage dice, right? 1d8 piercing, 1d6 piercing, 1d10 piercing, 1d10 piercing, 1d10 piercing. They all have some different kinds of mechanics to them, but they're nothing that I think if you played with Matthew Mercer's Gunslinger, that's going to look all that unfamiliar. Or if you've looked at the guns that are in the Dungeon Master's Guide, then these are going to look all that super foreign. Sure, some of them have these features like loud. Loud is the kind of thing that I think kind of brings firearms into a sense of balance. If you want to get aggressive, you're going to immediately break stealth. There's no way that you're going to be able to hide from anything in the dungeon. You're going to alert everything within a 300-foot radius as soon as you fire a firearm down into a dungeon. Like, yeah. So these weapons are rolling out already a bit more devastating. You're going to get the extra critical hit damage dice that I think makes you feel more like a sniper rather than just having the like overall range increase. There's just a lot to really love. I get right out the bat with this first level. And here was the thing that I really liked about this was that it didn't feel super complicated for the new player at my table to play. This is one of the only homebrew classes that I've been able to throw in front of a player and then feel like they knew how to pilot it. It was really fun to DM for. Moving into the second level feature with Grit, the hard-fought battles of your past have instilled in you a wellspring of resolve, which is represented by grit points. You have a number of grit points equal to 1 plus your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1 grit point. You can spend these points to fuel various grit features. You start knowing 4 such features: buck up, bullet time, covering fire, and dodge roll. You learn more grit features as you gain levels in this class. When you spend a grit point, it is unavailable until you regain it. You regain 1 expended grit point whenever you score a critical hit against a hostile creature, and you regain all expended grit points when you finish a short or long rest. So with buck up, you can expend 1 grit point as a bonus action to spend 1 or more hit dice, following the normal rules for regaining hit points using hit dice. The maximum number of hit dice you can spend each time you use this feature equals your proficiency bonus. Now, this doesn't necessarily scale up as well as Second Wind, but you're going to be able to get more uses out of this a little bit more reliably, which to me is honestly kind of a common complaint I see at a Second Wind, where I've got players that just don't really feel as if it's really rewarding them enough, or how do I put it? The fighter characters I see usually forget about Second Wind because it just doesn't feel like it comes up often enough for them, despite the fact that they can get it like basically once per combat. If they were able to get it as much as they got buck up, right? Like possibly you as a champion could regain a use of your Second Wind whenever you score a critical hit. I think you'd be seeing champion fighters be favored a lot more if suddenly they were able to get an extra use of Second Wind. Actually, that would be a really interesting fix for that. But I see players always forgetting that they even have hit dice and what they even do. So I'm all here for a feature like this that's making players rethink like this core class feature that they just don't ever consider. Bullet time. When a creature you can see makes a ranged attack against you, You can expend 1 grit point to impose disadvantage on the attack roll. Great cinematics right here. You know exactly where this is coming from. Covering fire. When a creature you can see within the normal range of your weapon makes an attack against a creature other than you, you can spend 1 grit point as a reaction to impose disadvantage on the roll. So you're almost playing a quasi-support if you favor this one. You are not going to be making a whole lot of opportunity attacks as this Gunslinger. So you having something extra that you can do as your reaction is some really nice action economy coverage right here. And then with dodge roll, you can spend 1 grit point as a bonus action to move up to 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. This is really just nice if somebody rolls up on you and you start your turn like within their range and you just need to GTFO. Seriously, not a bad use of your grit point right here, especially considering there's ways for you to regenerate this. Like, see, this right here is I think why Monk is a little bit reluctant to be using their bonus action and any key points in order to use their key disengagement tool, because they just don't really have a means of regenerating key in the middle of a fight, right? I think a lot of Monk might be fixed up if you're able to allow them to regenerate key in some manner in the middle of a fight. So let me talk about a perception issue right here, and that might be that some DMs are going to look at this and think, wow, this is getting more than Monk, and it's kind of based off of Monk, so of course this has to be a little bit overpowered, right? I don't know that I can think of anybody that thinks that Monk is in a generally okay state in the game. I actually think that what Heavy presents here is a pretty good fix for a lot of the issues that I've seen come up with Key, and that's that there's really no hard set way for you to regenerate key points in the middle of battle. So they feel like once you have them, you're kind of locked into that number and you're kind of reluctant to use your features because you just don't really have an easy way to regain key. There's also a few things that I think that midline, well, I'll just say D8 classes kind of need to kind of function really well, especially as martialists. You as a D8 character need to have the ability to disengage, somehow not provoke opportunity attacks as a bonus action during your turn. Notice that out of all of these features, this Gunslinger is not getting anything offensive that it can use with this grit. Buck Up is going to be a little bit of healing that you can get. Bullet Time is a bit of defense against ranged attacks. Covering Fire is a really cool support kind of a defensive feature. And then Dodge Roll is your key disengagement tool. All the offense that's coming out of this is honestly coming out of its Deadeye features. So Grit, I really super don't mind. This is giving you some great action economy coverage right here. You can refuel it pretty easily through the Deadeye. I love the synergy that's built in with here. And honestly, this is a way that I think we might be able to fix Key for Monk, is to give them some means of regenerating Key as a core part of the martial arts feature. And then Quick Draw, you have advantage on initiative rolls. This is the key thing that I see in a lot of Gunslingers, and it super makes sense. In addition, whenever you draw or stow a firearm, you can draw or stow any number of weapons as a part of the same move or action. At 3rd level, you choose your Gunslinger Trail, so you choose your path to walk either the Maverick, the Beast Rider, the Enforcer, Preacher, or Revelator, each of which is detailed at the end of the class's description. Your choice grants you features at 3rd level and again at 6th, 10th, and 17th level. So the one that I saw in play was the Maverick, and I saw this one go all the way up to, I think it was 6th level. The one that I remember coming into play the most often was actually the snapshot feature. So whenever you roll for initiative, you can spend 1 grit point as a reaction to draw a firearm and make 1 ranged attack with it against a creature or object you can see. This one happened so often. I adored this as just an opener to this subclass right here. Getting into what the other ones kind of do, the Beast Rider gets you a mount. This is like mostly the kind of cowboy centric, but you can also get on flying mounts, kind of a gunslinger. The Enforcer feels a bit like an investigator. The Preacher is your quasi cleric-y kind of a gunslinger, and then the Revelator is honestly your quasi paladin. There's a lot of cool flavor. I actually think I would probably lean in on the Revelator the next time I roll one of these up. Again, I'm going to be saying this pretty often. Heavy really dug into the Wild West flair with this, and I think totally did it justice. I'm curious to see what the future Gunslinger Trails are going to be. I heard him talk a little bit about possibly a psionic gunslinger in here for some Matrixy flair, so yeah. They're going to get the standard ability score improvements. Extra attack, you can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. And right here, he fixed the biggest part, the biggest qualm I think I had with Matthew Mercer's Gunslinger. You can reload a firearm you're holding as a part of your move or action. Oh man, being able to clear this up to where extra attack will actually work in the case of like low reload firearms. Lock and load is cleaning up so much of your action economy. I think that this is absolutely must be standard. Also shows somebody that has recognized the issues of gunslingers in the past. Ace in the hole. Once per turn, when you miss with an attack roll, you can spend 1 grit point to add your wisdom modifier to the roll, potentially turning the miss into a hit. Now, this is modifying the roll, so this isn't going to actually affect, from what I understand. Yeah, this is going to modify the roll, so it's not going to actually turn a miss into possibly a crit. This is the first offensive use of your grit that you're going to get with the Ace in the hole. I actually think that this is probably mostly going to be pretty worth it. Of course, you're going to be investing pretty heavily into your decks. With this, we're talking about an average of probably a +2, even at later levels, maybe a +3 or a +4 to the attack roll. At the use of a grit point, I'd say this is going to be very, very much worth it to use. Born Lucky here at 9th level, when you're first to make a saving throw, you can spend 1 grit point to make it with advantage. This probably had to be thrown in here, or else the Gunslinger was going to kind of lose its defensive relevance at this tier of play. Wow, yeah, I think had this been given to you as a part of grit, I would have thought that this is probably a little too good. But now that I'm thinking about this after seeing it again, I think that it had to get this here at this level, or else the Gunslinger was actually going to fall off defensively. Oh, no, I really like that choice, actually. Okay, cool. Frontier Justice, which you're going to get at 11th level, feels like that total stand your ground moment. When a creature you can see willingly moves into a space within 10 feet of you while you're holding a firearm, you can use your reaction to make 1 ranged weapon attack against that creature. So also notice that because it's within 10 feet of you, that means that your ranged weapon attack won't have disadvantage on the attack roll. But I love the offensive defense that you get out of this. You know, it's kind of like the difference between playing Dark Souls and Bloodborne, right? Dark Souls is encouraging you to play a little bit more defensively with like dodges and shields and stuff. And then Bloodborne is like, no, we're not going to give you a shield, we're going to give you a gun, right? So it's trying to encourage you to play more offensively rather than defensively. You just know that there's going to be one of those amazing moments where the player does this reaction, and it's going to be the moment that their gun is going to crit with Deadeye, and it's going to feel like such a cool moment if they're able to just take out that creature that's running them down. Like, oh god, the cinematics out of this are just so great. Skullcracker that you're going to get here at 13th level suddenly makes you feel like the mage killer. When you deal damage to a creature that is concentrating with a ranged weapon attack, the target has disadvantage on the saving throw it makes to maintain its concentration. If the attack is a critical hit, the target automatically fails his saving throw. I love all the synergies that are happening with this. This just feels so sick nasty. Cheat Death at 15th level. When you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can expend 1 grit point to drop to 1 hit point instead. But each time you do, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. So I don't mind the levels of exhaustion super much on range characters as much as I do on frontliners, because so frontliners to lose out on your positioning tools is a pretty huge deal. But range characters, most likely you're in this pretty safe position unless something has gotten up on you. Right here with like this cheat death. If something reduces you to 0 hit points and doesn't kill you outright, you use this to drop to 1 hit point instead. If this thing is multi-attack, this thing might be wiping you out. But in the event that, you know, you did just fail a saving throw, it reduced you to 0 hit points, it's almost always going to be worth it for you to use this grit point to drop to 1 level of exhaustion and 1 hit point instead. If you stay in the back line, most likely it's going to be pretty easy for you to maintain that position in the back line, but you've also got your buck up feature that allows you to heal up a little bit if nobody can get to you. You also got your bullet time to try and dodge another attack that might occur, and then you've got your dodge roll that can allow you to reposition in the case of you being in a bad spot right here. Heavy cleared up a whole lot of the issues that may occur as a part of just playing this class out. True Grit, this 18th level feature, when you start your turn and you have no grit points remaining, you regain 1 grit point. See, this thing right here, like, I honestly think that most of the classes that get the, you regain 1, like, use of Bardic Inspiration as a part of the capstone whenever you roll for initiative. Those could literally just be like, if you start your turn without a Bardic Inspiration, you get a Bardic Inspiration. And I feel like those would mostly be pretty okay as capstone features. I think that they were probably a little too careful with the capstones in early 5e design, which, hey, yeah. I just really love everything that this is throwing out. And this capstone that it crescendos into, you have advantage on ranged weapon attack rolls while the threshold for scoring a critical hit is 16 or lower. Because you passed this 14th level, the threshold is going to reach that 16 if you at least hit with 2 of the attacks that you make, right? So you roll out and do extra attack, boom, boom. If both of those hit, then the threshold for you to score a critical hit is a 16. Yeah, oh, man. And then you're going to have advantage on those attacks, which means that you can crit fish for that a little bit easy. Oh, man. I adore so much of what the Gunslinger is throwing out. You know, and what I really like here is the kind of compact design that Heavy was trying to get me to build around whenever we've been talking about creating classes. And if you look at all the class features for this, they all fit on one page. There's no need for this to sprawl out across like 3 different pages. Class features right here. I really, really adore this Gunslinger. I've had it played out at my tables at least up until 6th level. You know, I'm excited to see what would happen with one of these that played all the way to 20th level. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. You can go pick this up in the link that I'll provide in the description to this video. This is going to be, again, the Gunslinger by Heavy Arms. Major congrats, man, for getting this one out. I adored this Gunslinger. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section. A huge shout out to my Patreon sponsors for helping keep the lights on around here and coffee in my blood. You all are absolute heroes. And I want to thank you all for being here. I hope you all are staying safe, staying healthy, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.